They lived in harmony, no weapons, no warriors, no war. A gentle race of artists and philosophers, untouched by violence, until the day their skies darkened. Invaders came, merciless, armored, relentless. And as their cities fell, one lone human stepped forward. He didn't bring peace, he brought strategy. Fire. Resistance. He taught them how to fight, and they would never be prey again. When the first human ship landed on Dalinar Prime, the local elders stood in silent reverence along the shimmering crystal shores. Their people had thrived for centuries without war, an entire civilization dedicated to sculpting music from winds, growing living crystal gardens, and debating philosophy beneath their triple moons. Violence was a concept they had read about in old cosmic cautionary tales, stories told to frighten hatchlings into staying near the community lights at night. No weapons existed among them, no soldiers or sentries, only poets and scholars, artists and dreamers. But the invaders saw this as weakness. A fleet of armored raiders descended like a plague of steel locusts, hungry for the shimmering crystal spires and the rare bioluminescent orchids that lined the coastal cliffs. The first strike came without warning. Fire bombs rained down on peaceful villages, and entire gardens were ripped from the earth and stacked aboard cargo haulers. Among the fleeing Dalinari, a young philosopher named Arilani clutched a shattered piece of her mother's song crystal to her chest. She watched the sky burn, her mind refusing to believe that anyone could be so cruel. That was when she saw him. The human stood alone among the falling embers, tall, battle-scarred, carrying something the Dalinari had no name for, a rifle. His eyes weren't soft like theirs, they burned like the star forges of ancient stories. He turned to Arilani and reached out his hand. "Come on," he growled. "You don't have time to just watch, you have to learn to fight." Arilani trembled. "Fight? We do not." "You do now," he snapped, pulling her away as a plasma bolt struck the ground where she just stood. His name was Marcus Velt, a former Earth Marine who'd come to Dalinar Prime to heal from his own losses. He'd come to learn their songs, to forget the wars he'd fought on distant moons. But as he watched these gentle beings slaughtered and their creations reduced to ash, something primal in him roared awake. He dragged Arilani through a grove of half-melted crystal sculptures, explaining each movement with clipped urgency. "Your strength isn't in your arms," he barked, snapping a crystalline branch off a scorched tree. "It's here," he tapped her forehead. "And here," he tapped her chest. "I'm going to teach you to turn those into weapons." Arilani looked at the sharp edge of the branch and shivered. Violence was unthinkable, yet watching her people die, something shifted inside her. A quiet rage glimmered beneath the surface of her gentle heart. Marcus built them a hidden base deep in the singing caves, a labyrinth of tunnels that amplified sound in eerie harmonies. Here, he taught the Dalinari how to move silently, how to craft traps, how to shape shards of crystal into spear tips. He showed them how to fight as a pack, just like the wolves of Earth. The first group to join was small: Arilani, her friend Teval who had been a painter of the morning mists, and an elderly scholar named Oral who had studied the old tales of cosmic predators. They trembled when they first touched weapons, their long, delicate fingers shaking. But Marcus's voice cut through their hesitation. "Your ancestors survived storms that shattered continents. You've forgotten that survival lives in your bones. I'm not giving you something new, I'm waking it up." Arilani began to train every night. By day she wept over the loss of gardens and friends, but by night she lunged and parried, her movements echoing in the crystalline walls like a new desperate song. The first counterattack came when raiders tried to seize the central archive tower. The Dalinari, under Arilani's quiet command, flooded the main approach with mirrored crystal dust. The invaders lost all sense of direction, stumbling in circles as Dalinari hunters swooped from above with sharpened shards and branched spears. When the first raider fell, Arilani froze. The man's body lay crumpled at her feet, eyes wide in a silent question. A part of her ached at the sight, another part, one Marcus had awakened, felt the sharp breath of triumph. "You did what you had to do," Marcus told her, his own eyes dark. "Mourn him later. Right now, survive." Word spread quickly among the invaders that this world was no longer a soft orchard to be harvested. The peaceful singers had become warriors under the guidance of the Earth-born war teacher. Arilani stepped forward as their leader, her voice steady, her posture fierce. The fragile philosopher was gone. In her place stood a commander who sang battle chants woven from old wind melodies and Marcus's war wisdom. Villagers who once debated flower patterns now learned to stalk through fog, slipping blades into raider camps at dawn. Elders who sculpted crystal towers now engineered barricades and booby traps. Their transformation astonished even Marcus. The Dalinari didn't abandon their love of art and beauty, they fused it with survival. Their war paint was a shimmering dance of colors that disoriented enemies. Their battle cries carried the rhythms of old festival songs, echoing in the hearts of all who heard. As weeks passed, Marcus watched Arilani move among her people like a flame. Each new attack they repelled emboldened them, until finally they stood ready to strike at the main raider mothership itself. Arilani stood before her warriors, raising a curved crystal blade that shimmered like a captured aurora. "We do not fight because we love war," she said, voice trembling with power. "We fight because we love each other, and we will never let them take our gardens, our songs, or our lives again." Cheers rose, a chorus of harmonic voices that had once only filled the air during moon festivals. Now, it was a war hymn that rose into the alien night. Marcus stepped to her side, his own rifle slung across his back. "Are you ready to finish this?" he asked quietly. Arilani's eyes blazed like molten stars. "We are." And as they marched, Marcus felt a fierce, bittersweet pride. These people had learned the art of war, not as conquerors but as defenders of something fragile and priceless. He'd come to escape his past, instead, he gave them a future. By the time they reached the mothership landing zone, the Dalinari were no longer a gentle prey species. They were warriors, artists of survival, singing death songs woven from love and fury. The final battle was about to begin, and under the silent glow of their triple moons, the gentle race would finally show the galaxy their true strength. The approach to the raider mothership was a corridor of shattered crystal, scorched gardens, and smoking craters, silent witnesses to the price the Dalinari had already paid. Arilani led the charge, her crystalline blade catching moonlight as she motioned for her people to fan out along the ridges. From above, they looked like living comets, streaks of shimmering blues and silvers against the dark earth. Marcus crouched beside her at the final ridge, scanning the landing zone through the scope of his rifle. "They've reinforced the main ramp," he muttered. "2 squads on patrol, more guarding the cargo bay. We'll need a diversion." Arilani turned to Teval, who once painted dawn mists and now painted war plans in the dirt. "Release the echoes," she whispered. At her signal, dozens of Dalinari warriors slipped away into the crystal groves. Moments later, a series of haunting notes rose from the darkness, ancient festival melodies, warped into something urgent and feral. The raiders snapped to attention, looking for the source. In that instant of confusion, Arilani vaulted from the ridge. Her people followed in waves of sound and color, moving like a single living tapestry. Crystal blades slashed through the moonlit fog, while Marcus's rifle cracked again and again, each shot dropping an armored figure before they could scream. Arilani cut her way to the main ramp, her blade shimmering with each motion. One guard lunged, but she twisted past him and let his momentum carry him to the ground, then swept her blade across his helmet in a single elegant arc. Around her, the Dalinari moved with impossible grace. Every trap Marcus had taught them, every movement they had practiced in the singing caves, came alive. Warriors used mirrored crystal shards to blind turret sensors, others used colored smoke bombs made from crushed orchid petals to confuse enemy scanners. Above it all, the battle chants rose. At first tremulous, then surging into a full, unstoppable wave, like 1,000 crystal bells ringing in unison. Marcus kicked in a side door and cleared the interior corridors, holding the line so Arilani's strike group could push forward. Despite the heat of combat, he paused for a heartbeat to watch them, these artists turned warriors, each blow an echo of a dance, each movement a defiant poem to survival. Finally, Arilani reached the heart of the mothership, the command chamber. There, the raider commander, a broad-shouldered alien covered in steel plating, awaited her with a plasma scythe in hand. "You should have stayed prey," the commander snarled. "Now you'll watch your songs die." Arilani's eyes narrowed. "Our songs will live long after you are gone." Their blades clashed, sparks flying in arcs of burning light. The commander's strikes were brutal and direct, each one intended to crush. But Arilani danced, weaving, pivoting, singing the old melodies softly under her breath. Her movements confused him, each faint a question he could not answer. With one final spiral, she slipped inside his guard and thrust her blade through the weak point beneath his collar plate. His roar echoed once, then fell silent. Outside, Marcus and the Dalinari had secured the landing zone. One by one, the raider ships fell silent. Some tried to flee, only to crash into carefully laid traps hidden among the crystal dunes. Arilani stepped out of the command chamber, her blade still gleaming. For a moment, all was quiet, then the Dalinari warriors fell to one knee, heads bowed. She looked around, trembling as the reality settled in. They had won. Marcus limped up to her side, a shallow cut across his cheek and soot streaking his arms. He looked at her with a tired, fierce pride. "You did it," he breathed. "No," she said softly, turning to look at the warriors around them. "We did it, all of us together. You showed us the art of war, but we decided what it meant to fight. We kept our songs alive. As the first rays of dawn broke across Dalinar Prime's triple moons, the surviving Dalinari began to gather the fallen and repair the gardens. Some began to plant new crystals where blood had been shed, each sprout a promise to the future. Marcus watched as Arilani moved among her people, not as a conqueror but as a healer. She comforted the mourning, sang soft melodies with children, and taught others to craft blades into farming tools once more. Days turned into weeks. The raider threat faded into memory, and the Dalinari began to transform their defensive arts into rituals and stories, weaving them into their long festival chants. Finally, Marcus stood at the edge of a crystal cliff, preparing to leave. Arilani joined him, her cloak now a swirling pattern of shimmering blues and silvers, a tapestry of her people's rebirth. "Are you sure you want to go?" she asked, voice quiet. He looked out over the reborn gardens, the newly rising crystal towers. "You don't need me anymore," he said. "You were always strong, I just reminded you." She stepped forward and hugged him, a gesture her people had learned from him. "You gave us more than fighting skills," she whispered. "You gave us the courage to claim our future." Marcus nodded, eyes misty. "Keep singing. Keep dancing. And if you ever need me again, we will call," she said, finishing his thought. As he stepped onto his small shuttle, the Dalinari gathered along the cliffs. They raised their voices in a great, unified melody, a farewell song that shimmered across the valley like morning mist. Marcus turned for one last look at Arilani, standing strong and radiant, the perfect blend of fierce warrior and gentle poet. Then, he disappeared into the sky, leaving behind a world forever changed. Arilani lifted her gaze to the dawn. A new age had begun for her people, an age where they would never again be prey. And in the heart of every child born thereafter, there would echo the memory of the human who taught them not just to fight, but to choose life, and to protect it with every last breath. And in that shining moment, Dalinar Prime sang not only of past sorrows but of an unbreakable future, carried on the wind and in the hearts of all who dared to listen.